How's it going and welcome back. Today is another unboxing video. I know, unbelievable. This is something I've wanted for quite a while. So earlier this year I got to work on a music video project with my friend Ryan Say Creates. We were shooting that video on two cameras, my Sony a7 III and Ryan's FS5 Mark II. Ryan had the Sigma lens on the FS5 and I was like, wow dude, that lens is beautiful. So it's been sitting in my Amazon wish list basically from that day. Then I was asked to do a job over here for the tourist board and I was like, I know just the lens for this job. Let me introduce you to the Sigma 16mm f1.4. Standard stuff, comes in a box, it comes in, look at that. That's nice simple packaging, isn't it? Instructions. We were shooting this music video out in a desert in Spain, alright? We needed to get a really wide shot, but we wanted to retain a nice shallow depth of focus. Brian pulled this lens out of his bag. Like literally, he literally pulled it out of his bag because it was in his bag. So I currently shoot all my vlogs on this lens here, which is the Sony 10 to 18mm, and I love it. It's an amazing lens, but it's an f4. So for the majority of things when I'm walking around carrying it, it's great, and it does the job perfectly. And for the money, for the Sony lenses, to get something that actually works, that's wide, it's got a decent focal range, that autofocuses fast on the Sony's, this 10 to 18mm is a great lens. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the f1.4, it's basically your aperture. It's how wide the lens opens up to allow light to travel through onto the sensor. Lower the number, 1.4, the wider that lens opens up. The higher the number, 22, the smaller that lens opens up. The wider that lens opens up, the more light travels in. The narrower that lens opens up, the less light that travels in. So you need to adjust your shutter speed accordingly. If you're opening up on a really wide aperture, less light travels in, you need to use a quicker shutter speed. The less time the sensor has to capture the image, the less stuff is in focus, thus creating a really narrow. Now what I mean by that is that I could basically put this part of me in focus and blow everything else out. And that's how you get that really cool bokeh effect. So to show you the difference, this is the Sony 10mm at f4. And this is the Sigma 16mm 1.4. You see what I'm saying? Do you see how beautiful it looks? Isn't it nice? It's making me excited, and I can't even see what it looks like right now. So that is the Sony 10 to 18mm lens that I usually use for most of the stuff that I'm doing. This is the first Sigma lens I've owned in a very long time, since I shot Nikon almost 12 years ago. So I'm pretty excited to use something. It's the first non-Sony lens I have on a Sony system that isn't being run through an adapter. See, the autofocus is going back. I've just bounced around to take a look to see how quick that's working. I'm pretty impressed with that autofocus. That is really quick. This just allows me now to shoot that more cinematic style stuff where I want that shallow depth of field, but I still want wide. You can see the crop's a little bit tighter than it was on the 10 to 18. That's expected because that's 10mm and this is a 16. Now this is a crop sensor lens. If you're using it full frame, it is going to crop to APS-C, but that's fine. This is a crop sensor camera I'm using here. When I'm using it on the Sony a7 III, it's just going to shoot it to crop sensor. Now, some people might be hugely bothered by that. Personally, I don't care. I've shot on 35mm film, I've shot on full frame digital cameras, APS-C, crop, micro four thirds. I don't really, you just use it differently. It doesn't really bother me that much. Some people are really bothered by the lack of full frame. It doesn't really annoy me that much, so I'm totally happy with this. I use this lens for work and cinematic film projects, but I also want to use it for a bit of vlogging to see how it goes. The main thing this allows me to do is shoot wide shots with a wide aperture. Up until this point, what I've had to do is I've had to shoot with the 10 to 18 for the majority of the vlog stuff, and then whenever I want to get like a real shallow depth of field, I have to use this, which is a Sony 1.8 50mm. And it's great and it's really cool, but 50mm is pretty tight, especially on a crop sensor. So this lens is really going to allow me to play with that and do a few new things. That's really what it is, new stuff. I'm excited about that. Do a little bit of a test. We'll take it outside, see what it's like. So you can see what I mean. It's a little bit tighter crop, but it's so cool looking outside. I have a variable ND so that I can use this and shoot outside when it's really sunny and still keep it really, really wide. But like, it is just so cool for the piece to camera, you know? The bit where I'm talking to you and it needs to feel really personal or intense or dramatic or like thought-provoking. It's easier for me to get a point across, the conversation's a bit better, it's a bit more focused on me and there's less distractions. Anyway, I love it so far. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, do the things, leave the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Okay, later, bye. Boom. Camera aperture is basically how wide or how narrow your maximum, minimum, in a nutshell. The wider that lens opens up, the wider the lens. Aperture is the most painfully irritating thing to explain because it's all ass about face. Let's try that one more time.